saying that we've got a lot to talk about this week is a massive understatement. PlayStation dropped a brand new update for the Portal that is going to put it on everyone's Christmas list. Xbox just announced a major update to its cloud gaming offering. PlayStation is reportedly trying to buy the famed developer FromSoftware. The Minecraft movie just dropped a brand new trailer. All of this and so much more on this week's episode of the Nerf Report.
Warning, what you are about to watch was made for fans of video games. We do not pretend to be experts, nor do we want to be. Our opinions do not reflect the beliefs of the brands or the companies that may appear in this show. If you are a fanboy, toxic piece of sludge, or a grade A asshat, this show may not be for you.
Can you see me? Let's just film the video.
Zip it! The ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage is here!
Oh my god! Yes, negativity sells, and it sure as hell makes clicking your thumbnails a lot easier. But I, as a gamer, as a nerd, as a creator, I am so tired of being upset for clicks.
Are you listening?
Welcome, strangers from distant lands and friends of old. You've been summoned here for another episode of the Nerf Report. Thank y'all so much for joining us. It has been a crazy week here in the Chappel household because as you may have noticed, or the best friends may have noticed who are getting like the daily videos, I was on the road this week. I was in Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska. I knocked off 4 states within 3 days for work, and it's funny, living here in Texas, to go anywhere feels like it takes eons just to go from like Austin to Oklahoma or Austin, Louisiana, or even like Austin to New Mexico. It just feels like it's a lifetime. But we were on this road trip for work and it was like, oh, we're in a new state. Oh, there goes 30 minutes, we're in a new state. And I was like, I forgot how easy it is in other states to travel among places. But got to see some really cool places up there, try some really good food. And shout out to everybody up there in the North Midwest, kind of holding it down in the cold because it was cold. Speaking of which, nobody turned the heater on in the studio today because it was freezing. So if you begin to see my breath here while we're filming, that's why. Blame Steve. You did great with the air conditioning this entire year, but for some reason, you didn't get the heater. Now, before we get into this week's show, a little bit of housekeeping. Shout out to all of the Nerf gaming news, best friends, casual friends who make this show possible by supporting us financially. Keep in mind, for the low cost of $1.99, you too can become a Nerf gaming news casual friend and get access to over 20 extra videos a month, which include videos like our daily gaming news roundup, where if this show's not enough gaming news for you, you can follow us and get news every single day. And we're going to be growing that catalog of content as we go on with some exclusive content just for members. So if you have some extra money and you want to throw it our way, we greatly appreciate it. It's clearly not necessary to get this main show, but it does help us grow our channel. Now, before we jump into the PlayStation Portal and the insane news we got this week, we got a brand new game to talk about. This one is a beat-em-up game that shocked me when I read this. Features couch co-op. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how rare that is these days. Anyway, here's a brand new trailer for a game called Big Helmet Heroes. The PlayStation Portal has dropped, dare I say, the biggest update for the device since the handheld was launched. In case you missed it this week, we got a cloud gaming update for PlayStation Portal, which I don't know which god I need to thank. Poseidon, Hermes, Jesus, Krishna. I don't know who I need to thank because I have been begging for this because ever since I owned the PlayStation Portal, it always felt like a half-baked product, right? It was good for what it was. You have your PlayStation 5, you can stream games to the PlayStation Portal, and you can play them on the go. So if my wife wanted to watch something on Netflix, I could just open my Portal, sit next to her, and play it on the Portal. Really cool concept. If I'm on the road, I can connect to my PlayStation 5 and do it there. But I feel like when you think of it from a technology perspective, it was always stuck in like, that's so 2016, right? We had it with the PlayStation 3. We had it with the PlayStation 4. This technology is not new. And since then, we've had things like Google Stadia, GeForce Now, Amazon Luna, Xbox Cloud Gaming that have kind of revolutionized the idea of gaming on the go. And when the Portal came out, admittedly, I thought that's what it was going to be. I was like, man, we're going to get cloud gaming day one. Didn't happen, but hey, it happened eventually. And that's the key thing here because cloud gaming is now available on the PlayStation Portal. And this is a massive day for potential PlayStation players because you don't have to buy a PlayStation 5 to play games. Now you can actually just get a PlayStation Portal for like $200 and be put in the PlayStation ecosystem. It's super cool. Now, PlayStation is calling this a cloud streaming beta. And initially, it's just going to be 120 games, which feels really weird to say, like just saying initially it's only 120 games is a lot of games. Dare I say, you might not even knock those out in 5 years. Like if to play all 120 games, it probably would take you 5 to 6 years to play all of them from start to finish. But these are some pretty awesome titles. I mean, you got Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ghost of Tsushima, Ratchet and Clank, along with a ton of other bangers. The streaming quality will be 1080p, 60 frames per second, which shout out to the groans I just heard in the comment section of the people being like, oh, but we need 4K. Shut your mouth. Just be grateful that we got 1080p. Now, the other cool thing with the cloud streaming beta is that the PS Portal will keep its DualSense features like haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, speakers, motion sensors, and obviously the touchscreen will work in-game. Plus, you will get PlayStation Plus cloud storage support when using. Now, all of that's awesome. It's exactly what I wanted. You know, I wanted the ability to play games on the road without having to connect to my PlayStation 5, and it really does usher PlayStation, in my opinion, into 2024. It's like, welcome to the future, PlayStation. Thank you for joining us. I cannot wait to see what you do next. But definitely worth noting here, this cloud streaming beta will require a subscription to PlayStation Plus Premium, which is about $18 a month, or you can save about $4 by buying the annual membership, and your payment comes to about $14 a month. As far as internet requirements go, this isn't going to be super beefy. It reminds me very much of what Google Stadia required. For 720p, you need a minimum of 7 megabytes per second, and for 1080p, you need a minimum of 13 megabits per second. And the key word here is beta, right? Stadia, the death nail there, where they came out and they were like, we're done. This is the final product. Enjoy it, folks. It wasn't great. It had its bugs. It had its flaws. A year in, that's where it was great. And if Stadia would have came out and been like, hey, it's a beta, I think we would be in a very different situation right now. Now, with that, the keynote here for me is that PlayStation said it's likely to evolve. So personally, I cannot wait to see how PlayStation evolves this. You know, what new features do we get? What expansions do we get? Maybe we see the ability that, like, not only do I have PlayStation Plus premium titles, but if I were to buy a brand new Sony release game, like $70 for a game, maybe I can play it on my Portal via the cloud. Like when Ghost of Tsushima 2 comes out, maybe I can buy that game and stream it to my cloud. We're seeing it on other platforms, and we're about to talk about another platform doing this very same thing, but like that's where I think Sony needs to focus on evolving this. And it's weird, as someone who adopted cloud gaming extremely early, like Stadia stan, Stadia for life, an Amazon lunatic, I love the concept of cloud gaming and the future that it offers. When Stadia shut down, it genuinely felt like cloud gaming had gotten the wind taken out of its sails. It wasn't cool anymore. It was dead on arrival. It's never going to happen. But like now that we're 5 years out from like the introduction of Stadia, it's just like, oh man, cloud gaming is cool again, right? GeForce Now is doing awesome stuff. Xbox is doing awesome stuff. Amazon's doing awesome stuff. And PlayStation's doing awesome stuff. It's like if Google would have just stuck around for maybe 2 more years, this would have been a completely different scenario, and maybe the adoption rate would be completely different for Stadia. The irony here, right, is there were so many people when it came to the PlayStation Portal who were like, this is a terrible device, don't buy it, it's not worth the money. I was never one of those. As soon as I opened the box and I held the Portal in my hand, I was like, yeah, I mean, this device is well worth the $199. The screen quality is great, being able to play the games are great, And now that you're adding cloud gaming to this feels like the steal of the century. I mean, we're heading into Christmas season, and I do not think I could recommend any device more than the PlayStation Portal, because it is a fantastic device. And if you have someone who's a casual gamer in your life that wants to play these new PlayStation games that they've heard about, like The Last of Us and Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima, but they don't want to buy a $600 console to play it, now you can just buy a $200 screen and you can play it as well. Like, that's huge. And again, there is an audience here, and it's always been there with cloud gaming, that's like, well, I'll just use my phone. Yeah, but what happens when someone calls you during your gameplay, or your battery runs out, or you're in the middle of the woods and your battery runs out and there's a bear and you're like, well, shoot, I drained my battery because of cloud gaming. I bet you wish your phone was charged, right? That's the world I'm in. I'm like, man, I want to have my phone and I want to have a separate device for gaming. And that's what the PlayStation Portal is for me. And I got to assume all of the elves in Santa's workshop right now are working extra hours to create more PlayStation Portals for all of us. Like, there's probably a New Yorker elf somewhere in Santa's workshop coming in being like, eyes up, boys, we got some more orders for the PlayStation Portal today. But yeah, kudos to the PlayStation team, kudos to the Portal team, and kudos to the cloud gaming team who made this all possible. Anytime you take a device from being good and you turn it into great, I think that should be applauded. So round of applause to the PlayStation team, everybody who worked on this. Definitely pick up a Portal for yourself. I could not recommend it anymore. And before we jump into our next story, I obviously have a new game to introduce y'all to. This one, when I saw the trailer, I was like, I love the concept. It's a third-person mountain climbing adventure game. Ladies and gentlemen, Cairn.
In Cairn, you play an alpinist trying to reach the summit of a deadly mountain, with survival, encounters, and the mysteries of the mountain. It's also a story about obsession and surpassing your limits. The climbing controls are very simple. You move a limb with the left stick and grab with X. The game detects what limb is the most natural to move so that the controls stay simple. The challenge is about keeping your balance and managing your stamina. You can start climbing absolutely anywhere. Looking ahead is important in order to plan your route. The efforts and stamina are all calculated by the simulation. When she's too tired, the climber breathes strongly and the camera zooms in. Getting into a stable position with good footholds is the safest way to recover stamina. In Cairn, it's possible to jump onto a wall, but please don't try in real life. In addition to climbing, Cairn also features survival mechanics. And of course, the content of the bag is messed up if you fall. In camps, you can rest and manage all sorts of stuff. Like in real alpinism, cooking is very basic. You just warm up stuff in a pot. Here is a preview of one of the many routes player can take in the demo. When reaching the top, you finally see the mountain you will climb in the main game.
Are you ready for Cammy? Doesn't look so bad, does it?
Thanks for watching, and wishlist the game to stay tuned.
Xbox has announced that Game Pass subscribers can now stream the games they already own via the cloud. Yeah, it's been a while since we've had an episode like this. Like, there was a time period when Stadia, Luna, Xbox Cloud Gaming, GeForce Now, they were all trying to be like the dominant one in the market, and it felt like every single week, the entire episode was cloud gaming. This episode, very similar. We have a ton of cloud gaming news to talk about. Now, as far as Xbox goes, this new announcement has been teased for decades, eons, centuries, I dare say. In reality, it's probably been a year or so, but like, this is something I've been waiting for, because as someone who loved Google Stadia, I really liked the idea of being able to play the games that you buy. You don't have to buy into a subscription service, right? Google Stadia had Stadia Plus, but then you didn't really need it, right? You could just basically say like, hey, we're just gonna do buy the new Cyberpunk game, and we're gonna stream it via the cloud without needing a membership. 100% allowed, right? That was what was cool. It was like a virtual console that I could buy games for. Xbox, we're kind of getting there with this announcement. Now, Xbox did make this clear. This is going to be kind of a rollout for them. And initially, it's just basically going to be 50 games that are available to be purchased and streamed via the cloud, which I think is a big deal for developers as well, right? Like the Game Pass ecosystem has become so powerful. And it's obviously how Xbox is moving the needle over there. But really, your choices as a developer when it comes to Game Pass are like, you've got to offer your game for free in Game Pass Ultimate's library, right? Like you got to be in there and then you're going to lose out on potential sales. There's a whole bunch of indie developers that are like, yeah, we could probably get some wins there and create some games as a service. But if we have like a game that you sell and you play it once and we just want to put it in, make the margin on the front end, that's a tough sell to be in Game Pass Ultimate. So the idea that now you can be Game Pass adjacent and sell your game is huge. It's huge for developers. Like imagine you're going to be logging into your smart TV Xbox app and it's going to say, oh, do you want to play the new Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty game? Buy it now. And it's just like, boom, there it is. Buy it and you're in the store, you're purchasing it, and then you're streaming it to your television. That's a huge new source of revenue, not just for Xbox, but also for Xbox developers and in the Game Pass ecosystem. So, as we mentioned, 50 games initially, and I wrote down some of the ones that stood out to me. The games that are included are Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Baldur's Gate 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, Hades, Hogwarts Legacy, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, Phasmophobia, Star Wars Outlaws, Outlast Trials, Division 2, and WWE 2K4. Xbox clearly learning from Stadia's mistake where they're releasing like games from 3 years away. Now they're like, hey, these are games that came out this year and they're bangers, or they're games that came out last year and they're bangers. Hogwarts Legacy. It's not available on Game Pass Ultimate, but you can buy it and stream it via the cloud thanks to Xbox. That's a huge win. Now, as far as how this is going to work, Xbox unveiled a photo that shows a new section in the Xbox app that says stream your own games. And if you own one of these games or you buy one of these games, this is where it will appear. Now, there is an asterisk here, a huge Kardashian-size asterisk. In order to stream your games via the cloud, you will need to be subscribed to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is $19.99 a month. It was rumored earlier this year that we could get a cloud gaming subscription fee, which Phil Spencer, Xbox Streaming, Xbox Game Pass team, if you're watching, please and thank you. I say that on behalf of everybody watching this show. A cloud gaming tier of Game Pass would be huge. Like, give me $9.99 or $12.99 a month and allow me to just stream games. Please and thank you. Whether we get it or not, right? Whether we stick with Game Pass Ultimate or we get a cloud gaming tier, I absolutely adore this. I think that this is massive for the Xbox gamers who are using streaming sticks, smart TVs, or even just your mobile devices. And, I think it just goes on to show like Xbox is very serious when they say anything is an Xbox. That is their goal as a company. We are going to not just be multimedia and transmedia. We are going to be multi-platform and trans-platform. We are going to be everywhere that you can play Xbox. And, we mentioned mobile devices, and that's the part that really is interesting, because if you were to open your Xbox Game Pass app, you can stream games through the subscription, but now that you can buy them, does that mean Apple is going to just kick the Xbox app off the store, or Google's going to kick it off because you're buying the game through Xbox and then you're streaming it? So that's like a big thing right now for cloud gaming. So we will definitely have to pay attention to that one. But either way, I love this. Congratulations to Team Xbox. I cannot wait to test this out firsthand. I wish I had some time to play this, but this week has just been super chaotic. But believe me, Thanksgiving week coming up, that's all I'm going to be doing. Now, before we jump into our next story, obviously we got a brand new game to introduce you to. VR. I am a big VR fan. I travel with my VR headset everywhere I go, and Thrill of the Fight has become one of those games that anytime I want to introduce someone to virtual reality, I introduce them to it. And good news is we got a brand new chapter of Thrill of the Fight. This time, it's bringing multiplayer to the game. Thrill of the Fight 2.
Who's next?
Oi! I'm next. I'm next.
After dinner, I'm next.
I'm next.
I'm next.
I'm next!
I'm next.
Is that all you've got?
Who's next?
PlayStation is reportedly in talks to acquire the studios behind Dark Souls, Sekiro, and Bloodborne. Yeah, Reuters broke this story this week, and it kind of shocked me, but then after thinking of it, I was like, man, this really makes a ton of sense for Sony. Reuters basically said that like Sony has been talking about purchasing Kadokawa, which is the company that owns studios who have made games like Octopath Traveler, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and of course, Dark Souls. Definitely worth noting here. So, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and Bloodborne are created by a company called FromSoftware. And Kadokawa only owns a 70% stake in that company. A portion of the remaining amount is owned by Sony. Sony has a 14% stake in FromSoftware currently. So if they were to acquire Kadokawa, their ownership of the company would go to an 84%, which I would have to assume that Sony would just buy out the remaining 16% there, giving them a full ownership of this company. This was a rumor earlier in this week, and Kadokawa just threw fuel on the fire unnecessarily by releasing a statement that essentially confirmed that Sony has offered to acquire the company, but Kadokawa has not decided on whether or not they are taking the offer. And again, this is larger than just FromSoftware, right? Kadokawa has IP in the anime, the manga, the TV world. And I really do think that, like, while yes, Sony is trying to secure their IP, some of the biggest third-party games on their platform, right? Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Elden Ring. Those are some of the biggest games in the last century of video games for PlayStation. So obviously they want to secure those and they don't want those to land anywhere else. But I also think that this is a huge play for PlayStation Studios, right? I mean, you start talking about like television, film, animation. This is massive. Like the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power series, incredibly made by Amazon. What if that same team created an Elden Ring show, right? You better believe PlayStation's going to want to be in charge of that. Well, that PlayStation's going to want their PlayStation Studios emblem to show up in the beginning of the intro. Or, I mean, imagine a Bloodborne horror film. Or even that, a Dark Souls movie or TV series. Why would you not want that? And I think that's just where PlayStation is right now. Like, PlayStation is in such a transmedia mindscape that it's not just gaming. It's merchandise, it's television, it's movie, it's comics, it's licensing, right? They're realizing the power of their IP. And I know we also have the rumor of a new Bloodborne coming. Bloodborne 2 is about to release, or we're going to get a Bloodborne remastered. The internet can't decide which one it is, and we're all just waiting for FromSoftware to announce it. If that's true, that we do have a new Bloodborne coming, this purchase could be like PlayStation just wants to secure it, right? They're like, we want to own this IP before it launches on our platform. And again, I think we should like cap this off by saying that Sony and Kadokawa, they have not commented any further that this is happening. We don't know if it's happening. We don't know if it's closing. I'm sure we'll hear something in the next week or two. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where unfortunately there's not anything more to say about it. Like, neither of the companies are expanding upon it. We're just going to have to wait for Sony to post a tweet that says, "Welcome to the PlayStation family." And when that happens, I can assure you, we will definitely be covering it on the daily. And if you don't want to miss it, $1.99 a month makes you a casual friend here on the channel. And it gets you about 20 episodes of the daily each month where we'll cover news stories that break before we get into the studio for this major show. So definitely consider that. Shameless plug. I apologize, but we got to keep the lights on. And as we do, let's throw it to another new game. This is a third-person open-world adventure game. Ladies and gentlemen, please, The Tower of Aghasba. We got to talk about this new trailer for Minecraft, right? So the Minecraft movie's coming out in 2025, and a couple of the trailers that have come out have kind of been like hit and miss. This week, we got a trailer for the Minecraft movie, and I gotta say, it wasn't terrible. Now, the Minecraft movie is coming from Warner Brothers, and genuinely, when I first heard this announcement, I was like, I don't know how they're gonna pull this off, right? Jack Black's in it, Jason Momoa. Like, what are you gonna do with this movie? Are you gonna go animated? Is it just gonna be like pure CGI? But in my opinion, I mean, they took a really creative live action style to this game, and when I saw the trailer this week, I was like, Jesus, this kind of reminds me of like the 4K texture maps you can get in Minecraft. I was like, this is beautiful. Like, I would love to play a Minecraft game that looked like this. It was so creative, it was so cool, and I've got to imagine that that's coming, right? The movie comes out and we're gonna get like a Minecraft movie texture pack where you can basically play the game like what we're seeing. And based off the trailer, like Jack Black is gonna be playing Steve, and I just feel like the trailer for this movie really shows that the people making it not only love Minecraft, but they're also just trying to pay homage to everything that makes Minecraft cool and unique. Like, we got to see crafting, you know, we saw some of the characters in games of like, whether they're like the mobs or the piglets, and like, you know, the various nuances in the game of like inside jokes. And of course, we got to see like the building of crazy machines. We got to see like redstone used in carts, and, you know, a chicken being cooked by lava. Like, there's so many cool things in here that are just like, as someone who's played Minecraft, I'm like, oh, that's really creative here. Now, I say that as someone who's very casually related with Minecraft. I don't really have like too much to say about it. I know there are people who play it way more than me who are probably going to be skeptics here, but I do have to say this. I'm not going to rush to judgment, right? I'm not going to look at this trailer and be like, this movie looks absolutely terrible. I'm not going to go see it, because I've had that blow up in my face way too many times, right? Last week, I made fun of Borderlands. Just saying like Kevin Hart didn't do that good. I hadn't seen the full movie of Borderlands. I saw clips, I saw trailers, and I was like, I'm not going to watch this movie. When I was flying from Austin to Kansas, you know what I watched on the plane? Borderlands. I issued an apology this week. An official apology over on Twitter. I said, I need to apologize to the team that made Borderlands because I made fun of it a lot, but that was based off of clips that I saw. Watched the full movie. It wasn't that bad. Maybe it was because I was watching it at 40,000 feet, and that's, you know, it's a distraction from the idea that you're in a pressurized pill in the middle of the sky. But like, hey, the Borderlands movie was not as bad as everyone made it seem, or as I made it seem based off of trailers. So again, when I look at this Minecraft trailer, it's easy to hate on it. It's easy to be like, oh, eye roll. But I'm not going to judge until I see this movie. So the Minecraft movie, it's going to be releasing in theaters on April 4th. Definitely sound off in the comment section what your thoughts are. And you know, what are some of the inside jokes that you hope to see captured in this movie? Is there something that you love about Minecraft you hope to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're sounding off on the Minecraft trailer, please enjoy this brand new trailer of a video game that is a multiplayer mech shooter arena game, or as we like to call them, a Mascot. Here's a brand new game called War Robots Frontiers. Fun little story from this week. I found out there's a community college out there that has the mascot of a Skylander. I mean, this has to be talked about on the show. Number one, I am a massive Skylanders fan. I love it. We got Slam Bam back here. Terrafin used to be in here. I think my daughter may have ran off with it because I saw him in her playroom the other day. But I love the Skylanders franchise. I think it's so creative. I love the games. I love the platforming. And I really hope Toys for Bob's is working on something new because I would love to see another chapter in that. But this week, I was scrolling through the internet and I found the Sussex County Community College out of New Jersey. Mascot, Skylanders. First off, sign me up. Send an application over. I want to be a Skylander. I want to go here. I mean, recruiting for that school has to be a no-brainer, right? Like, the Skylander kids who grew up playing the games are now becoming college kids. And you're walking in there and you're like, do you really want to be a Longhorn down in Austin, or do you want to come out to Jersey and be a Skylander? And it's just like, these kids are like, well, obviously I want to be a Skylander. Like, why would I not want to be? But yeah, shout out to my new favorite team, the Sussex County Skylanders. We didn't have a good game last time, right? Our last football game, we lost to the Badgers 62-21. But hey, I think we as a community here on this show could get behind the Skylanders and just take their fandom to the next level. If I can, I'll get a shirt. I'll wear that Skylander shirt all day. Their mascot, I think, no offense to the Skylanders, I'm just saying, it could use some work, right? You got a dude standing in the cloud throwing bolts. I feel like we could team up with Activision here and maybe borrow like Slam Bam, Tree Rex, maybe get Ghost Roaster in there, and like we'll take one of the Skylanders, maybe Spyro. Maybe we make Spyro or Crash Bandicoot one of the new Skylanders mascots, which might be the first college team to ever have a video game themed mascot. I mean, I think the Master Chiefs would be a great team, but I don't think that that's happened yet. But anyway, shout out to the Sussex County Skylanders. You guys are now the official Nerf Gaming News team here on the channel, so best of luck on your ongoing seasons, and we wish you nothing but wins here in the future. Now, obviously, sports talk aside, we're not here to talk about sports, we're here to talk about video games, which I got a brand new video game. This one's a little trippy. Pinball. It is a pinball first-person VR experience. Now, you might be thinking I'm putting on VR, I'm playing pinball, I'll just go to the arcade. That's not what we're talking about here. You are the pinball machine. Let's check out Bounce Arcade. The nominations of the 2024 Game Awards were dropped this week, and my, oh my, once again, we were snubbed for the 7th year in a row. And look, Jeff, I know we poke fun, right? I know we made that sketch about you and Kermit trying to take over the world and your Muppets fandom, and I know I talked about how rich you were because I saw your house and how much money you were making on the Game Awards, and Crash showed up to your house, and I was like, dude's got money. Dude's making a bunch of money on the Game Awards, but I thought that we'd get past that. There's no need to take it out against our channel, right? Nerf Gaming News should be Creator of the Year. I'm just throwing it out there. This should be our year. And if we're not next year, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to put words in people's mouth here at the channel, but we've been told by owners that if we don't become Content Creator of the Year next year, they might shut us down. So, that blood's on your hands, Jeff. Now, if you're not aware, the Game Awards are the most prestigious video game awards night of the year. There's almost 30 categories, and just to kind of give you the highlights here, most anticipated game of the year, we had Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, GTA 6, Metroid Prime 4, and Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, looking from the outside in, Grand Theft Auto 6 should 100% win this, but Death Stranding 2 is also listed, which Hideo Kojima is really good friends with Jeff Keighley, and Hideo showing up at the Game Awards is pretty much a shoo-in, especially if he's going to win Most Anticipated Game of the Year. So we could see an upset, because at this point, Hideo and Jeff are like the Stan Lee cameos of the Game Awards at this point. Nominated for Content Creator of the Year, we got Queso, Ilo Wan, Techno Gamers, Typical Gamers, Usada Picora. Best Multiplayer Game of the Year, we got Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marines. And of course, for the coveted Game of the Year awards, we got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantasio. And obviously, like I said, there's 30 different nominations, so a bunch of other games got nominated here. Other key takeaways from this year's nominees, Astrobot and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth got the most nominations, receiving 7 nominations. Sony led as the publisher with the most nominations, taking home 16 noms, followed by Xbox and Square, who both got 11 nominations each. As much as I joke around about Jeff Keighley pulling the strings behind the scenes, these nominations come from over 130 different media publications who all vote on this. And I question whether or not I should have a say in this, because at the end of the day, I have had a very crazy gamer year. I've played 5 games and maybe like 2 mobile games. That has been my year. So I really don't have a say, but at the same time, I've been watching from the sidelines and I've been talking about video games here on the channel. So I feel like I have some thoughts here, specifically around Game of the Year. I do feel like that's a very controversial subject here because, number one, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is not a game. It's a DLC expansion. And I feel like if we're going to start nominating DLC expansions, it should have its own category. Because no offense to FromSoftware, no offense to Elden Ring had its time in the sun a couple years ago when the game released, right? You don't get to take a DLC expansion and turn that into its own thing. If you want it, make it its own game, right? Erdtree is its own video game. It's a DLC expansion. It should not be taking the spot of another game that quote-unquote deserves it. Also, where the hell is Helldivers 2? And I say that, again, as that's one of the 5 games that I got to play this year. But even from the sidelines, that game dominated the early part of this year. Whether it was TikTok and all the wives being like, here's how you support your divers, and I'm doing my part. And then like just the game was incredible at launch, and then it had a slump, and then it came back with vengeance, and it was incredible. I don't understand how Helldivers 2 doesn't make it onto that list. Or Palworld, right? Palworld, how is that not on this list? That's another game that 100% deserves to be listed in the Game of the Year conversation, but it's not even on there. And like when I go down this list, you've got Astrobot. That makes sense. Black Myth Wukong. Okay, I can understand that. That game had its time. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. 100% makes sense. But when it comes down to the 3 of them, of like Elden Ring DLC, Balatro, and Metaphor Refantasio, again, no hate to those games or the developers, but my question is, were those better than Helldivers 2? Was Balatro a card game better than Helldivers 2? Was it better than Palworld? I mean, and really, I guess it's just like, was I under a rock this entire year and I just slept on these games? But again, my gaming life has just been destroyed, right? I've got work, I've got kids, I've got this show, I've got everything else running behind the scenes, including kitchen renovations and new flooring and just complete unnecessary nonsense sometimes. But as far as this year goes, I mean, Helldivers 2 is my favorite game of the year. I really enjoyed Palworld. I really enjoyed Helldivers 2. I really enjoyed Star Wars Outlaws, even though the majority of the community didn't like that. And then the other one was Outlast Trials. I thought that was such an innovative twist on the series, and it was such a fun game that I don't think got the credit that it deserves, but it was such a fun time. So when I look at the game of the year, I'm like, man, that's tough. It's tough to pick from that list because I haven't played any of these. I haven't played Astrobot yet. I'm hoping Santa brings that to me. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, again, I'm hoping Santa brings that to me. And Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. I tried playing the first Elden Ring. Couldn't get past the first level. I just kept dying. So, again, I mean, I'm so out of touch here that I haven't really played any of the Game of the Year nominees. But, again, we talked about it here on the channel before. This is just a big night of marketing, right? So the Game of the Year award or nominee really just means that like this company did a good job promoting their game to publishers. And this company got in front of the right people each and every year. But I guess where we can wrap this up on that point is just like, let me know in the comment section down below, what's your game of the year, what you think deserves to be nominated. Do you think that the 5 games that got nominated deserve it? Do you think a DLC should be in there? Please, I'm very interested to know if I'm off base here, and I will be the first to admit if I'm off base. And if y'all start putting like points in the comment section, I'm gonna be like, dude, I was wrong, 100% wrong. So please let me know. And of course, that's gonna wrap up this week's episode. That's all the gaming news from this week. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you got some extra money in your pocket, don't forget to maybe help us out this holiday season and becoming a Nerf Gaming News friend, casual friend, or best friend. Both options are available. If you're a casual friend, for the low cost of $1.99, you get 20 episodes of the daily every single month. And if you're a best friend, that also gets you some extra perks, including 15% off in the Nerf Gaming News store. So, without further ado, thank y'all so much for watching. Until next time, we'll see you in the next video.